Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the afternoon session of today's SC4. And let's welcome Aditya.
Okay. Hi everyone. So I know it is afternoon over there. People are like, yeah, this is a very bad time to study flat space holography, but still, let's start. So in the yesterday lecture, what we have actually seen, just give you just a brief outline if I can do that, which cannot. Yeah. Okay. So in the yesterday lecture, we discussed the n equal to 4 supersymmetric angles. And also the other part like this from the field theory side and also from the gravity side, we study the type 2 superstring theory. And after that, what we did, we studied the ADS CFT correspondence or duality. How two theories are related or they are to each other in different aspects and all. So this was the yesterday lecture, very brief review what we did yesterday, basically everything we did yesterday for the relativistic case. But today let's move on to the first part of this is the from the gravity side, which is the Bondi Wessner algebra. So we will see this like first we will see this in a different way, and after that I will show for basically for the few example which is BMS3 and BMS4, how you take the limit and all at that. And for this basically I recommend people, if someone is interested, to have a look to read afterward this paper for the detailed calculations, at least for the first part of the lecture. Or in short, you can say that this is the BMS n algebra. N is here is the dimension. Just before we were writing as D, now we have I have just written as different notations. So what we will do today, we will first look at the algebra of the BMS group in general dimension. Our wish basically will be to recover this group from the symmetry of the flat spacetime. So to find these so-called asymptotic symmetries, we first need to look at the null infinities. So let's start. So let us begin by introducing something we called as the retarded time, given which is t minus r, and some distance denoted by r and angle theta a, that is which is on the S2 sphere. So the coordinates here will be, for example, r1 theta 1 and xa is r sine theta 1 dot 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 sine theta a minus 1 till f minus 2. So the Minkowski metric then in this coordinates basically becomes t square. This is du minus 2 du dr plus r square equal to n minus 2, where your S1 is 1 and your SA is just your typical n minus 2 square. For 2, the value of A is between this. Okay. So the null boundary here is basically defined by r equal to a constant, or basically tends to infinity, with u and theta a held fixed. So till here I have just said you what are the coordinates, how your symmetry looks like, and everything. Next step would be we want the how the killing vectors basically looks like here. So one requires the killing vector that to satisfy the killing equation to up to a leading order. So once you do that, the killing vectors then turns out to be are given by something like xi mu. Yeah.
Yeah, in your metric, is there no term proportional to dr square?
No, here you don't have any dr square. No. That is involved in your u, right? U is t minus r.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Here. Let me do this on the other page actually. This was what's better to do. Yeah. So where your killing will then become this. I will just tell you, I'm just writing this of the order of r0, comma, xi r minus r order of r, and your xi is w plus order of r square, where again your a goes to 1 up to n minus 2. So over here, these factors you can find out by using your killing equation, which is given by this of the order of some row into some factor, some vector or something. So from here you can do this by using this and then using the metric and then plugging it, you get back this, where basically your this and this, your t theta a, once you try to do that, are some arbitrary function on n minus 2 square, and your y theta a b are your components of the conformal killing vector on the n minus 2 sphere. Yeah. And as I have told you before, to get this, if you want to see how the calculation is done from getting from this equation to this, basically I recommend look at this paper where they have done the detailed calculations. What they have done, basically, I can just show you, is that they have taken the equation or the basically the form is as something like this: psi mu, chi mu, xi tilde mu, where this is u and theta, plus of chi something, where your chi is something, some function. So you can see that if you use this and plug it in the metric, and do you get back your killing vectors. And these are some non-vanishing solutions. And over here, basically your y1 or something is yeah, this one. Yeah. So these asymptotic, yeah, sorry.
Sorry, so what was rho mu nu again?
No, rho mu is kind of an expansion. I'm just saying that. So if you take this G mu nu and do this, you will get some kind of an expansion. So if you take this and put it in the metric, then you get an expansion. I just wrote it down in a very short.
Okay. So this Lie derivative of the metric is not 0. You're not
It's not
considering
0.
isometries.
It's not 0.
Okay.
That's why you will get the solutions.
All right. Thank you.
So these asymptotic killing vectors, let's denote it by KD. They forms a subalgebra of the Lie algebra of vector fields, and the Lie bracket basically are given by some xi cap, where you have xi and xi prime, and they are determined by some t cap ya dA t prime plus t del 1 y prime 1 minus ya is del at minus t prime del 1 y 1. Similarly, you will have similarly for the ya, which is given by this. Okay, so this is quite easy to see. Like for example, if you want to find out this, you have to plug it in here. So you can see over here it is just this, and you will have
Yeah, hi. So in this case, what are the fall-off conditions on the metric that which you are assuming? I mean, here isn't it important that one has to specify the appropriate fall-off conditions on the metric?
Yeah, there are boundary conditions. Yeah. So you are saying right over here.
Yeah. So So in this case, basically, this I'm saying because what you mean by an asymptotic symmetry actually doesn't it depend on what sort of boundary conditions you choose?
Yes. Yeah, that's why I was saying that it is very like dirty calculation or something. But if you want that, then this is given by in this equation. So yeah, I'm sorry. This is given by the total calculation is given in this. There are this. Yeah, you are right. There are some boundary conditions. So if you want, I can write. Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the conditions
So actually, basically, the reason which I was asking is that I mean, for example, in these cases, I mean, in the asymptotic symmetry literature, people often use different boundary conditions, and depending on that, you get
basically what you require here is if you have your xi mu, you basically it has to take to r naught.
Yeah.
And since your dro of r naught is basically O of 1 by r.
Right.
And over here you have the r rho, which I was talking, it's also 1 by r. So these are the conditions.
So is this the choice which was made by BMS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So over here is just you can directly just do this. So you do this, you get back these equations. I have just omitted out the a and b's and all. So it's just like that. So it follows that these asymptotic killing vectors For example, for y equal to 0 and equal to t for something, you form an ideal. In the algebra of asymptotic killing vectors. This is more mathematical, but I will again show you for the BMS3 and BMS4 from the ADS how to get it. So the algebra, if you do this, is basically defined to be BMS and algebra. So basically BMS algebra, what it is a semi-direct sum of the conformal killing vectors, which is this YA, of the Euclidean n-2 dimensional space with the T's, which are the abelian ideals. So note here is that the exact killing vectors of G basically give rise to xi mu A mu plus B of X mu, and that implies that your YA meridian is sum is R 1 by R given by this. Yeah, it is not ideal, it is ideal. Ideal, like, yeah, from the Lie algebra. Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
It's a follow-up of what Sudeep was also asking. So for any general dimension, when you say BMSN and you have this asymptotic killing vectors, so how do you obtain the asymptotic killing vectors? I mean, by specifying some follow-up conditions on the metric or specifying some conditions on the vector fields themselves?
No, basically you have to specify something like even on the metric, right? Like first you have you find, yeah.
So I mean, do you refer to some very specific choice of the follow-up conditions, or because BMS originally had not worked out for any general dimension? Right?
No, that is true. But over here,
yes,
there they have chosen a particular case.
Yeah, so that was for 4 dimensions. So when you generalize it to higher dimension, so what are the conditions that you impose? Meaning, when you say impose some boundary conditions, do you have some physical criteria which lead to that choice of the boundary conditions? Meaning, say, allowing for the gravitational waves or something.
Gravitational waves. Okay, yeah, basically BMS was done for that only in the beginning.
Right. But in higher dimension, the existence of gravitational wave itself is subtle. So my question is, what will be the physical criteria based on what you will impose certain boundary conditions?
I think they have what is basically done is that it is just a generalization. What they had for the BMS4, they generalized it to the higher dimensions and try to see what they get.
I see. Yeah, because say for example, the existence of super translation itself is a bit subtle in higher dimensions, but people have worked out.
People has worked out, yeah.
Yeah, so and that again goes back to some set of conditions.
That is true. But yeah, so the conditions over here I can write, for example, let's see if I can, let me just write this. Yeah, so the conditions which are you talking about, the following conditions which you find is basically these. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I may add a comment to that. So here all the O's that are written, they're all the small O's, right? So
yes.
So I think when you solve this asymptotic killing equation, all they want is that it should not, I mean, like it's not big O, it's small O of 1 over R, 1 over R, so that it satisfies killing equation. So I think I think I suppose in some sense that is the loosest boundary condition you can have, but I may be wrong, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, but often the loosest boundary conditions that don't give rise to super translations. You have to further restrict something.
Right. So I think okay. So if I think so if you just let's say like GRR component or something, and then you try to solve the asymptotic killing equation.
Right.
So you do it for Minkowski, but whatever the follow-up is, it's small o of that follow-up. That's all.
Okay.
That is their condition, if I remember.
Right.
I don't remember 100%, but if I remember, that is the boundary condition.
So I will also write the conditions, and you can see what the conditions you get mathematically.
Okay, sorry. Before that, there was a question asked by Shubhoshachi. He was asking, could you please specify the definition of an ideal?
Okay.
I mean, he said that he has looked up in Wikipedia, but if you want.
Yeah, so yeah, I can just show you what is basically an ideal. So ideal is basically what you will call as the invariant subalgebras also. So for example, consider an algebra G and its subalgebra, which is G prime. So you have your X, which is the elements of the G, and your Y betas, which belongs to G prime. All right. And your G is this. So since G prime is a subalgebra, it should satisfy, for example, rho and sigma is equal to sum this, which is given by the expression there. In addition, it also satisfies structure constant and given by this. So if this follows this, then G prime is an invariant subalgebra. For example, take an example of, for example, an E2 thing. For example, E2 has x1, x2, and x3, right? And it satisfies one as x2 goes to x3, and x1 to x3 goes to minus x2, and your x2 and x3 is 0. So over here, your G prime has the element x2 and x3. So as you can see over here, this is comes out to be 0. So this is an abelian ideal. Okay. Sorry, it's an ideal or invariant subalgebra. So if they commute among each other, that is okay. Okay. Yeah. Where I was now. Okay. Yes. So I was writing the exact form of the killing vectors, which is given by this here. That belongs to the BMS and about the conditions. Sorry. So I was writing the conditions basically, just mathematically I was writing the condition. So just to show what it looks like there. So then you can see like what is these conditions and from where get the constraints if you solve these equations. Yeah. Even I don't remember this condition. Yeah. So these are the conditions where your rho A is R square, where your rho A. So Arnav, these are the conditions which you get from it.
Yeah, so these are the conditions on the leading component of the vector.
Yeah, yes. So now, in order to make contact with the conformal method, we just note that you have some G mu and you take it as some bar, G mu bar. So it is the metric induced at the boundary R, which is equal to a constant. So this is basically given by this. So one can verify that the BMSN from here is isomorphic to the Lie algebra of conformal Killing vectors of boundary metric in R tends to infinity. We will see in more details in for BMS3 and all. It's just a statement which I'm giving here. Now, this is also an exercise for you if you want to do. I just want to show you. Like for example, for here, at least from this method, for the BMS3, it basically is characterized by two arbitrary functions, as you can see before. This, that is on the circle. So these functions can be Fourier analyzed by defining theta 0 and some Jn. Just you can just try to plug it back into what I have written and then try to see like afterwards, after the class or after this lecture or something. So in terms of these generators which you have, the relations of the BMS then becomes zero P m plus n. Let me know if I'm going fast or something, then I can slow down. No worries. So this was the example for basically from here for the BMS3 algebra. Now let's try to do for the BMS3 from the other method, like try to take the limit on the ADS side. So this was the for like total mathematical stuff which I have told you from starting from the metric and all the Lie algebra, the Lie derivatives and all. And you find the Lie vectors and then try to find the commutator. And finally this. So now moving on, let us first take the example of BMS3. Here what we will show by taking the flat space limit of ADS3. So let us look at the killing vectors first. So what we will do, we will look at the killing vectors of ADS3 in the global coordinates. So the metric of ADS3 in these coordinates is given by tau square So in the previous lectures, here just one thing, here R is equal to L. So in the previous lecture, we have been taking the radius of the ADS as R. Now it just have changed to just L. I have just renamed it to L because they are from here, this one. Just remember that. And in the first lecture, if you have seen the global coordinates and the metric, so one thing what you can do to get this metric out of that, you just have to take the following transformation. If you plug that into that, then you get this, and also some tau as some L tau. Or you can say this as the tilde or something. Plug this. Okay, moving forward. So the killing vectors which generate the, for example, the S2, 2 isometry of this geometry are simply written as basically by using the 4-dimensional embedding space. So if we choose minus, plus, plus, minus for the signature of this 4-dimensional embedding space, the killing vectors are given by, so I will not write that, I already have written that, so it is very big expressions. They are given by, so this for the BMS3, as you can see.
Sorry, what was this minus, plus, plus, minus signature? That you just wrote down in the previous slide.
Ah, sorry, yes. No, this is the metric for the 4-dimensional embedding space in which you have that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the BMS, by BMS3 you mean a 3-dimensional asymptotically flat space, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so one basic question is that in 3 dimension there is no dynamical gravity, right? For asymptotically flat space time.
So can you repeat that?
In a 3 dimension, the degrees of freedom for gravitons is 0, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's no dynamical gravity.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
In 4 dimension or in high dimension, there are this d into d minus 2, d minus 3 by 2 degrees of freedom. And we know the super translation, what it does is, let's take the CAB component, which are the dynamical degrees of freedom that is shifted by this Z derivative, del ZF, where F is a super translation. So in 3 dimension, what is the analog here? Meaning which mode of the gravitons get shifted under super translation?
You will look. So the thing is that basically right now I'm just trying to explain at the level of the algebra right now, without going there. And yeah, basically
I mean, I was just wondering. I mean, which vector field do you call super translation, and what is its action?
Yeah, we'll go through. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's see. We'll go forward, and then in the end we will get. We'll tell you.
Okay, thanks.
So if you choose this, the killing vector of the matrix are given by this. So as you can say, so over here, what I did before is where it is. Over here. So you have this. So for one example, as you can see, your J01 is just your L del T. So over here, you have to take X naught as sorry, first tau. So this is there. The next one is L tau. There is the same, and your tau is over here is tan inverse. This one, and your R is root over X0. So if you take this, plug it over here, trying to find. So in the end, what you will get all these 6 branches, because in BMS3 you have, so in BMSN you have n into n plus 1 by 2 generators. So in the BMS3 you will have 6 generators. So over here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So by plugging everything into it and then trying to solve it, you will get this equation, a big equation. So we can give it some time if you want to see this. So I move forward.
Hi.
Hi.
So this why you have taken first go near the boundary? Can you explain that? That in the end you told to go to BMS algebra in that space from this. You have to first go near.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This I will come to that. I will come to that. Yeah. Okay. So this will see, because you cannot directly take L tends to infinity in here. So you have to first do that, and then it's like a proper limit taking process. Sometimes if you want to take a direct limit, everything blows up.
Okay.
But yeah, that you don't want. So in order to do that, you have to do some tricks in between so that you get the right answer. But you are not touching the physics and everything. You are just doing a mathematical. So over here, as you can see, your alpha is basically root over L square minus R square, just to write it in short. So if you do that, you have to take L by R tends to 0 limit. So the above vectors which you have, which is given by this, then can be written as these equations. So your J1 and J6 basically are just your J01 and J23 are untouched, but all other changes. So let's take an example. So everyone sees this, or should I? It's fine. Now, next, what we will do, we will take the radius of this ADS, and which is the L, and absorb it in a new time coordinate, which we denoted by T, given by equation this. T goes to tau by L. Finally, if I wrote this now. Yeah, so if you do this, then your generators, which we have, just then becomes this. It's just over here we are just doing mathematics, just redefining stuff and then trying to write it in a form that everything remains finite, nothing blows up. So yeah, I can write this stuff. So after that, you can then verify why from where you are getting, how you are getting this. Sorry. R cos phi sin t del R minus, this is sin t del phi, and finally you have the J5, which is given by this.
So where is this T coming from? Aren't you working in UR coordinates?
No, the thing is that T I have defined as tau by L.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thanks.
It's a redefinition just. is sine t del phi. So these are the generators which you get after you redefine everything. You just plug it, you just change it tau by L to t. Now, doing the next step, now take L tends to infinity at large but finite R. That reads the generators near the boundary, and those becomes as this. So your first two again remains the same, but here this changes. Minus cos phi del t minus sine phi del phi. Similarly for every other ones. This plus cos phi del phi and your J4 and your J5 is this. Yeah. Let me check if everything is fine. Yes. For the J3, it is this. Okay, I think so. This will be cos. Yeah, there was this mistake. Yes. So once we have this, these generators in this form near that, the next step would be to define them. So how do you define? Let's take L0 as this. Yes.
Sorry, how did you get the second from the first? From, is it obvious? Like I'm not able to see it. You're taking L going to infinity. How did you get the second one?
This one.
From, yeah. Let's say J2. Yeah.
So as you can see from this, if you take L tends to infinity, your t goes to 0.
I see. Okay. Sorry.
Because your t is tau by L.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I get it. Thanks.
So now you can write the generators in a more suggestive form. Just do a linear combinations and all. And -1 minus J2 plus IJ3. And your M0, just define them like this. IJ4. So these generators then can also be rewritten as where ln is PR and your mn del t, which is for n equal to -1, 0, and 1. So what you notice here is that these generators can be defined for all integral value of n, because it this, and hence you what you get in the end is the BMS3 algebra. TMN, which you also have seen before in the from a more geometrical perspective, and this was more algebraic. M and is equal to 0. So this is the algebra which you have for the BMS3. So you can see you can directly get as a Black-Scholes limit from the areas. Sorry, here it is. Yes.
Yeah. So in this case, do you get for example, this ln and m's which you have defined. So this ln m's they are for arbitrary integers or just -1, 0, and 1?
No, first
So
you define for the
form,
-1, 0, and 1, but it can be, if you look at this algebra and do it for the any integer value of n, it closes. Yeah.
But how does so Okay, so but how do you get these extra generators from the starting algebra which you had? In the starting algebra, you define this linear combinations, right? L0,
Yes.
L1, and L minus.
Yeah.
So how do the remaining sort of Virasoro generators appear?
You started with the ones which you had, but the thing is that see everything, whatever the for example, you have the generators. So you have them out, for example, this global part or the finite part of the algebra. It satisfies some algebra which is given by this. All right, but then equally, if you take for n equal to -2 and so on for anything, similarly, if that algebra holds, then it becomes an infinite algebra. It's like a trick, right? Which we do.
Yeah, that is right. But what I was wondering is that shouldn't there be a way of deriving of getting this Virasoro algebra directly? Because since you're taking the flat space limit of ADS3,
Okay.
the true asymptotic symmetry algebra of ADS3 contains Virasoro rate. So from there, can't you actually derive the fact that you get some Virasoro in the flat space limit?
That's also true, but yeah, that's why I showed you it in two ways, right? Like, for example, in the beginning, I showed you like directly from the BMS thing, directly from the killing vectors and all, how to get. And this was from the flat space layer. But you're right. Yeah, there should be. But yeah, let me also look into that and see. Yeah. Sure. Hi.
I think there is a way. I think this advanced lectures by compare, there was this notes. I think he does show a limit where you can.
Sorry, who? Sorry. Can you
compare? Geoffrey compare.
Yes.
The advanced GR lectures. I think there is a way where I think he takes looks at asymptotically.
So the thing was like this result which we got before from here was from his paper only. This thing which and Barnick and Compre. So this is the one which he was trying to.
Correct. This is the 2006 paper that you wrote down this thing, right? But I'm saying that this is directly BMS in algebra. But in his advanced lectures, I think he does show a limit from ADS3 to asymptotic symmetries in ADS3 to flat space. And maybe I don't remember the limit exactly, but I think it was probably like the full Virasoro in ADS3 to the BMS3 algebra. I think I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, so in that case, I think there is some combination of the original Virasoro generators which you can define. I mean, you take, let's say, Ln and the L bar ends. And yeah, so as far as I can recall, I also don't remember this exactly, but you take some linear combination of the original Virasoro generators and plug it in with some factors of the 1/ADS radius. And then you take the large radius limit.
If I may comment here.
Sure.
Exactly that's what you do, as Sudeep was explaining. So to get the BMS algebra is a BMS3 algebra is a alternative limit on the Virasoro cross Virasoro. So you take your ln's and ln bars and you combine them in a certain way with these factors of 1/L sitting in front, and you take the L tends to infinity. That starting from the whole, 2 copies of Virasoro would actually give you the whole BMS3 algebra.
That we will do tomorrow. Yeah, the same thing, which was tracing.
Right. And also, Aditya, if I may say, why is that INRDR there? What was the
Sorry,
R?
which one?
In your definition of ln? What was the R?
So R was from this metric, right? Which you start from the ADS3.
Okay, I see. Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now we have done for the BMS3. So it's better to show for the BMS4 because it's a very lengthy, big 10 generators thing. So what you do over here again, the same thing. You start with BMS4. If I can write here, I cannot write right here. Something. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So you start with this metric. And the generators for then over here in the BMS4 become SO2, the isometry of the geometry, and that they are given by this 10 generators. More complicated stuff. As you go up, it will go on increasing. Basically, this part goes on. You have more stuff over here. So start off with the for example, from B2. And then again, do the same thing what you have done for the BMS3. BMS3 thing, BMS3 limit. So the killing vector then in that limit comes out to be these. I will give you some time because these are very big expressions. So if you take that, just remember that your J3, which you have over here, and your J10 again is like they are the same as before over here. Now, if you take the flat space limit, so it is not so as it is like the new generator in this can be found by doing the contraction. By doing the linear. You can combine them in such a way, which is given by in B4 and B5. Okay. So your L0 is basically J4 plus IJ3, and your L0 bar is J4 minus IJ3, and so on, doing some kind of a combinations. Basically, say similarly for now you have M0 naught. Finally, if you do that and try to find the commutation relations, it's given by this. For M and N equal to -1, 0, and 1. And if you try to find more explicit expression for these generators in a more nice way, like so that you can finally you can take the polar coordinates given by this and then express the ln's L and the m's in terms of that, and those generators are given by these. So these are the ln's, the ln bars, and the mn. So these are all the generators for the BMS4. Doing the same process, everything. So I'm just like told you about the BMS3 is more in detail, but BMS4 is like just do the same thing. You have the generators over here. Take all the limits in between limits and define your linear. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So actually in this case, the 10 generators which I can see in B.4 and B.5. So basically these 10 generators are just the Poincare generators, right? I mean, they generate the Poincare group. So
yes, right.
Where is BMS here? I mean, where are the non-trivial super translations?
No, the thing is like that. I have told you for the -1, 0, and 1. But the similar thing as I was telling you, these generators, if you try to take it for any, if you take B8 and do it for any and then plug it into V6, it satisfies for any n.
Yeah, so that is fine, that they will satisfy the same algebra. But I was asking like in the case of ADS 3, for example, there was as we just discussed, there was a direct way of getting the BMS algebra, I mean, with non-trivial super translations and so on. But in case of, I mean, I'm trying to understand how does this contraction of the ADS4 isometric group give you the BMS algebra? I mean, just taking the flat space limit here seems to give just the ordinary Poincare algebra. So I don't see the infinity. So I'm just saying Poincare because you have these 10 generators, right? Where you have L-1, L0, and so on and so forth.
That is true, but you also have, like, for example, you can extend to any, right? Like for example, the MNs. It's not only true for 0, 0 and 0, 1 and so. It is true for everyone. So these are like kind of, the translations.
Yeah, but it is not clear how this uplift actually arises from the contraction of the ADS4 algebra.
Yeah, contraction from the ADS is like this, but I think from what Aurithra was saying, that we can have look at from the field theory side and check that, which we will do in the next time. Like, yeah.
So actually, just to clarify one thing, so in this case, what do you mean by the field theory side?
So this is like field theory side in the sense that from the boundary I'm talking about.
So
Like
in that
there's
case,
a-
are you going to show that I mean the BMS algebra emerges from something? For example, are you going to, for
The
example, look
thing
at
is
the
like that,
soft theorems and see that?
both of the boundary and the bulk side, the algebra should like be isomorphic to each other. I'm saying that in one lower dimension.
Yes.
In the
Yeah.
field theory side. So from there also you should get the same thing. So that I will show from both sides. So right now I'm just showing from the gravity side, basically from the BMS side. And then next I will move from to the boundary side and then show you how they are related and how they are linked. Yeah.
Okay.
If I can ask, so I can rephrase Sudeep's question the following way also, right? I know I have Poincare symmetry in flat space. I just write the Poincare generators in the form of B8, and then I say I can extend it. So I mean, the coming from ADS to flat, I mean, was just gave you this form of B8 where I can now say that, oh, n can run over all integers. But that is not enough of an argument to say that this is the asymptotic symmetric group, right?
Yeah, so actually that is not enough, right, Anish? Because I mean, so in that case, one has to argue that why that, I mean, in that case, why you can do that uplift. Right?
That is true. That is true. One has to do that. Yeah. But I'm just showing from the first year, I'm showing from the algebraic perspective, just like that,
Okay.
like how you are getting that basically.
Okay.
But for that, you have to like go deep into stuff and then try to see. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, just to clarify, I mean, so your X and Y, they depended on this phi and theta. I mean, is this a reason that you are saying this is infinite dimension? I mean,
Yes.
this will be asymptotic symmetry.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, although they are finite in numbers, but they are angle dependent. Therefore, you are calling them as super translations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. So what I have right now showed is basically your BMS algebra for the BMS in the starting. And then we have looked at a particular example, which are the BMS3 and BMS4, how to get from the flat space limit of ADS. Now, what we will do next is move on to the boundary side. This is this. And first we will discuss something which we call as the Galilean conformal algebra. In short, GCA. So what is our wish? We wish to consider non-relativistic equivalent of the conformal symmetry. For that, what we will do, we will consider the contraction of the conformal algebra. So that can be performed if we take this limit at the level of the space-time, and the contraction will be performed in the unit c equal to 1. So in this limit, we know that the velocity would be small as compared to the speed of light, and hence it should correspond to vi close to 0 or c tends to infinity also, in other words. And this can also be achieved by doing the contraction or doing the scaling as epsilon xi t goes as t with some epsilon, which we have taken the parameter to 0, so that your vi xit goes to 0. So if you take this limit, for example, you start from the conformal algebra. Let's take J0I, which is the boost, which is something given by this, right? And if you take this limit, which we have defined here, so what it becomes? No. And if you take define as bi something as limit epsilon tends to 0 with epsilon j naught I, what you get in the end is just this, or you can write it as t del I. This is for the boost. This is the way I'm trying to show you how to take the limit on the generators of the conformal algebra. So in the end, if you do it for every generator of the conformal algebra, what you will say show that the conformal taking this limit and epsilon tends to 0, you get the GCA. At least the finite part of the GCA. So once you do, yeah, so
So here, when you're taking this limit, you're taking this in the embedding space, is it? So you're looking at the Lorentz generators in the embedding space, and then doing this contraction to get the generators, is it?
So basically, now just think about, like, for example, just think about the bound, like the field, the conformal algebra. Just think about the conformal algebra, and then you take the limit on that. What you get, you take this limit, you get the Galilean conformal algebra. Yeah.
Right. So the conformal algebra, because you're writing in terms of Lorentz generators,
Yes.
that is like in the embedding space.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the conformal algebra which you have is the translations, the Lorentz transformation, the dilatation, and the special conformal transformation. If you take this limit, what you get is, I will just tell you, K0 and Ki. So over here, Bi is the boost, there's the translations and all the same thing. So what you see in 4 dimension, for example, so you have 15 generators. If you take this limit, you also have over here 15 generators. So the number of generators are the same, but the form changes, as you can see from above, even in this expression. And this form changes because you are going from the Lorentzian background to the Galilean background. So for example, I think for the Lorentzian thing, you get something like this. But once you take the limit and then try to do it, and then try to find the transformation, the commutators, you get this. So which are like in accordance with the Galilean relativity. So basically, you start with Poincare and you get the Galilean part. But now what you do, you have this a finite part. The similar thing is that the most interesting part of this algebra is that it admits an extension to an infinite dimensional algebra. So to see that how it is done, we have to write all these generators in a more suggestive form. Where your L -1, 0, and 1 are your H, D, and K. Whereas for your L, so this is I'm writing in general dimension. Then I will show you for the D equal to 2 dimension what you get. Di with L, PL, BL, and also you have the Gij. So in the end, if you take all the generators together and try to find a
Can I ask a
combination,
quick question?
please.
I don't know the Galilean.
Sorry, your voice is cutting. I cannot.
Sorry, my internet got disconnected. Am I audible now?
Sure. Yeah, you are audible.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the generators that are there, can you tell me what they are? Like, so I understand there are rotations. There's the usual translation. Now you don't have boost. What are the new generators?
No, you have boost. You have boost. The boost is here denoted by BI.
But what do they do in this? If you have in a non-relativistic.
So that's the thing I was trying to say. So over here, your expression for the boost becomes t Li. Only the you have the time dependent. Yeah.
Okay. Time dependent translations.
Yeah.
I see. And what about H?
H is for your example, H becomes delta.
Okay, time translation. Okay.
So similarly, your finite GCA in the finite you can write as equal to 0. Similarly, M N is just given by this. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Yes. So this is the algebra which you get if you take these generators. So as you can see in higher dimension of the, because in higher dimension for greater than 2, the conformal algebra which you starts from is basically finite dimension. But in here, you can write these generators in a more suggestive form. And like in terms of the ln's and the mn's. So as you can see, for any n equal to so for -1, 0, and 1, ... anything, this algebra holds. So the above algebra continues to hold even for any value of n. So the algebra which you have now becomes an infinite dimension algebra in any space-time dimension. This is for d greater than 2, but even for d equal to 2, let's move forward to see what we have. Okay, so the case of d equal to 2. So in d equal to 2, the appearance of the infinite dimensional non-relativistic conformal algebra is much less surprising as before, because you already have in the relativistic side an infinite dimensional algebra to start with. So let us denote some ln and the ln bars as the 2 copy of the relativistic Grasser. Okay, so the algebra is given by similarly you will have for the ln's bars. Okay, let me write bar c bar by 12 0 minus n and between that is 0. So if you take this and you take the limit and you take the limit and do the linear combination. You define some ln as ln the Virasoro, the relativistic case, as this, and your mn as something like this combination. Yes. If you do this and plug it back and try to find, so in the end, what you get is the 2D GCA algebra, which is again the same as before, which we found. Zero q minus n, and for this mn will be the same thing, but with this m, and you have the cm 0 and q minus n, and both commute. See, so the fact that this algebra which you have is a non-relativistic limit can also be understood by looking at the familiar representation of the Witt algebra in terms of the holomorphic and the anti-holomorphic coordinates. So this we have just seen that how to you just do this and do a linear combination, try to take the limit, and then you get back your GCA, 2D GCA algebra. So other way to do the same thing, what you can do is, now you start with the coordinates, the form of those generators, something given by this bar, right? And here your z bar is t plus minus x. So what you can do is you can rewrite the generators over here in terms of the x and t's. So what you get is this dx and the ln bar as t minus x plus 1 minus x, and perform the limit. So in the end, if you plug in the limit as x goes to epsilon x and t goes to t, with epsilon tends to 0, if you do that, in the end what you will get is del t, sorry, x del x plus O epsilon square. Similarly for the mn, tn plus 1 dx plus O of epsilon square. So in the end, what you do and try to find the algebra, in the end you get the same thing which you have here. So it's like either you can take the limit on the directly take the limit on the generators, or you can take it on the coordinates. In the end, you will get your 2G GC from here. So do you have any questions here? So this was all the algebra which we have. First, we talked about the BMS, BMS3, BMS4. Now we have talked about something else for the GCA. First in general GCA, in general dimension. Then for a very specific case, which is d equal to 2 case. All right. All limiting is going on. Next, what can I do from here, like on the GCA side? Let me show kind of a field theory, for example, in the GCA side. Let's take the easiest case, that is the scalar field theory. So whose Lagrangian is basically given by the real is given by just by this, and whose equation of motion is just is equal to 0. Now, if you take the limit over here on the equation of motion, what you get in the GCA thing is as del t square phi plus del I square phi is equal to 0. And if you take that limit, it becomes an epsilon square over. If you multiply by the epsilon square, so the equation of motion for the scalar field theory, for the non-relativistic scalar field theory, is just given by the potential term. Which is true because, like, if you have a Schrodinger field theory, which is also another non-relativistic algebra, so for that case, you have something given by this. This is the Schrodinger equation, right? And if you take m tends to 0, which is the case, like in the Galilean case, you just get back your phi square, just the potential, what we get from here. So it is consistent with the non-relativistic limit. And similarly to the conformal algebra, which you have, so you have the generators of this thing, and they have some action on the fields. Let me see what are the actions. So, for example, for the LNs you have, which is acting on a scalar field, is just given by this. Sorry. L acting on phi is XL del L plus some delta. Delta is the scaling weight of the field which you are considering over here, which is the phi, and to the phi. Similarly, for the M's, is just given by phi. So these are the action when you try to find from the representation. So similar to the conformal case, you also have a representation theory here, doing the same highest weight representation. You and get the action on the fields of these generators. So in the end, if you have this equation, so what you do basically is you have the L, delta L, acting on del I square phi. And similarly for the M, del I square phi. This is a field theory which I'm trying to say. So over here is just minus t square del L acting on del square phi is equal to 0. Similarly for this state, for the Ln, if you try to do that, you will get something like this. Made a very grand mistake. Sorry. It will be minus Tn plus 1 del L. And similarly over here, you will have something like this. Phi plus XL del square phi is equal to 0. So as you can see, this field theory, which we have the equation of motion at least, is totally invariant under the Galilean conformal algebra, not just for the finite part, but for the infinite part. So the field theory which you started has a finite number of symmetry, the conformal symmetry. But in the end, if you take the non-relativistic limit and then try to find the symmetry of that, the symmetry which we have is the extended GCA or the infinite dimensional GCA. So this is the example of a GCA in any dimension, basically. So with this, I think I conclude that today. At least we have seen both the part, basically the GCA part and the BMS part. Tomorrow, what we will do, we will look at the another algebra, which is the Carolian conformal algebra. So here, what we will do, we will, yeah, sorry, yes.
Yeah. So, so you're saying that this will be the symmetry in the boundary side, this GCA.
Yes, yes.
At
At least for the D equal to 2 case.
At least for the D equal to 2 case. So is it, can I mean, so we, because the bulk symmetry is BMS3, and that is a relativistic theory. You're saying, is the statement that the boundary theory is no longer relativistic? Is that the statement?
Yes, so it will be non-relativistic.
I see, okay.
Again, I'm stressing, this is for D equal to 2 case.
Right.
Higher than that, you will have the other thing, which is the Carolian symmetry.
Okay.
And that will be the topic for next. Like tomorrow, I will totally focus on these this group, and then how to get it in D equal to 2 case, and for even for the higher dimension. And yeah, for example, even for this theory, the 2-point correlation function, if you try to see, try to calculate for this theory, for the scalar field theory, is like something like just goes at the time to the power 2 delta, and delta, you know, is just the weight. If you try to calculate the correlation function, the 2-point correlation function. So just to show you. So this will be very, this will be useful when we try to compare both sides for the BMS and for the from the boundary side. So you will see how they compare and all.
Aditya?
Yeah.
Yeah, may I say something? So
Sure, yes.
I'd just like to say that, you know, even in 2-dimension, it is still Carolean conformal algebra that you are looking for. But since this is 2-dimension, the Galilean and Carolean conformal algebra are the same thing. If you just, you know, do this x going to t and t going to x. So that's in all dimensions, the BMS algebras are basically the Carolean conformal algebras, I guess.
That is true. Yeah, because as you remember in the first lecture, which I have showed you, like for the, from the Galilean case, you have this, but in the Carolean case, you have this. So the isomorphism is true in D equal to 2 case, but for in higher dimension, this is not true. And this you will see like when we look at the Carolean conformal algebra. Yeah. Any more questions? I'm done today. It's fine. It's finished. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I actually sort of had like a general question actually.
Sure.
So in this case, so I was trying to actually contrast this thing with you know, what happens in the case of asymptotically flat 4 space-time dimensions. So in that case, actually, what happens is that it's not just I mean, the symmetry algebras that you get are not just BMS, you get mode. For example, there are actually various current algebra symmetries that you get. And these are actually encoded in the soft theorems in nice ways. So I was trying to understand that from this perspective of, let's say, taking the flat space limit of ADS-CFT or something. So from that, can one actually see some of this actually sort of non-trivial current algebras to arise? So actually,
what you are talking about, yeah, you're talking about the soft theorems and everything that I have very little information about by myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I cannot really tell you about anything about in that direction. But that is that seems a reasonable question. No, that seems a reasonable question. I will try to see this. Thank you. Yeah. I will try to
Aditya and Sudeep, if I may. Aditya, as far as I remember, so if you take the GCA in any dimension, and if you have your rotation generators Jij, and you also, you know, uplift them to infinite dimensions, then you have some Kac-Moody algebra that is generated by those, right?
Yes.
In general, you have the Jij rotation operators, right? And
we have the general Jij rotation. Yes.
Yes, and that admits some sort of central extension where the rotation generators are lifted, and with that you can form something like an affine Kac-Moody algebra, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe that is the that is one of the extra things that you get in like other dimensions, I guess.
No, so for example, actually, yeah. So for example, in the case of asymptotically four-dimensional flat space, you get actually various current algebras from the subleading soft theorems actually.
True.
So for example, the subleading soft graviton theorem basically is equivalent to actually the word identities for a certain current algebra.
Yeah.
And there are similar current algebras which you get if you have, let's say, Yang Mills in the bulk, or let's say QED in the bulk. Yeah. Yeah. So what I was trying to sort of understand, if from this more direct, if from this approach of taking the flat space limit of ADS CFT, can one actually see some of this algebra that is, because this flat space limit of ADS CFT might give us, like, you know, might give us like a microscopic way of deriving what the dual of flat space quantum gravity is.
Okay, Sudeep, again, I don't know much about it, but this is the way of, you know, sort of including all like vector fields on the S2 to you know, this Campiglia-Ladha way of doing things, right? Is it that?
No, not that. I mean, the Campiglia-Ladha thing yeah. So basically, that involves all the diffeomorphisms on the sphere. But that is not what you get from the soft theorem actually. So from the soft theorem, what you get, I mean, from the subleading soft graviton theorem, what you get is basically this so-called actually current algebras. And in a sense they are related to Virasoro. You can do a shadow transform and you can see the Virasoro symmetry actually come out from there. But
right.
Yeah.
I mean, for just by looking at what Aditya had to say, I don't think that they are working in that extended notion of BMS.
No, actually,
yeah.
That's what actually I was trying to say, that like basically I don't have so much of knowledge about this soft theorems and all.
No, so that is fine. But what I was just trying to understand is that
no, that's a very fine question. Yeah. I have to think about this more.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sanyu. Thanks.
Okay. So so this was today's lecture, and tomorrow let's focus on the Carolian conformal algebra and the field theories. And if tomorrow I get time, or day after tomorrow, we'll try to see the comparison between the boundary and the bulk. All right, guys. Thank you.